this is not justice.
Who do you believe is the real killer?
Terry Wayne Hobbs.
Amen. And David
I don't know how much clearer I have to make it. His DNA was found there in the lace of Michael Moore. There's no other two ways about it. None of the West Memphis Three's DNA was there.
This video showcases the deposition of Terry Hobbs, Stevie Branch's father. Stevie, along with two companions, tragically lost their lives in a 1993 murder case. The unsettling incident unfolded on May 5, 1993, when three 8-year-old boys, Steve Branch, Michael Moore, and Christopher Byers, were declared missing in West Memphis, Arkansas. The initial police searches conducted on that fateful night were reserved. Simultaneously, friends and neighbors initiated a search, including an initial visit to the eventual discovery site of the victims' bodies. A more extensive police search for the children began at approximately 8 a.m. on May 6th. The search efforts covered the entirety of West Memphis, but placed particular emphasis on Robin Hood Hills, the last reported location of the boys. Despite a thorough shoulder-to-shoulder search of Robin Hood Hills, conducted by a human chain, there were no indications of the missing boys. At approximately 1:45 p.m., Juvenile Patrol Officer Steve Jones made a crucial discovery: a black shoe belonging to one of the boys floating in a muddy creek that led to a significant drainage canal in Robin Hood Hills. Subsequent exploration of the ditch led to the grim discovery of the bodies of the three boys. They were found unclothed and bound in a hog-tied manner using their own shoelaces. Specifically, their right ankles were tied to their right wrists behind their backs, similar to their left arms and legs. Autopsies revealed that Byers gave in to multiple injuries, while Moore and Branch suffered a combination of multiple injuries and drowning. Jesse Miskelly Jr., Jason Baldwin, and Damian Eccles were quickly apprehended in connection with the crime despite the limited evidence linking the three teenagers to the incident. The arrest occurred amid heightened emotions, and some argue that the case was mishandled, leading to the conviction of all three individuals. A growing public sentiment emerged, contending that the trio, commonly called the West Memphis Three, had been wrongly accused. This sentiment fueled a widespread call for a retrial. Notably, numerous celebrities, including members of the Dixie Chicks, joined the voices backing a re-examination of the case. In a notable twist, Terry Hobbs, the father of Stevie Branch, supposed that the Dixie Chicks were singling him out and implicating him in the crime.
Well, sir, my question is you've sued my folks for a lot of bad things, and one of the things is just basically saying that they were wrongfully convicted, and the killer of the three little boys is still at large. And my question to you, sir, is, did you kill those three little boys?
No, sir.
You know, a lot of people think you did.
I don't care.
Okay.
That's why I'm here today.
Were you involved in the murder of the three little boys?
No, sir. One of them little boys was my stepson.
I appreciate that, sir. Do you think the West Memphis Three, the three that were convicted in '94, do you think they did it?
Sure do.
No doubt in your mind?
Correct.
Has there ever been a doubt in your mind?
Understandably, Hobbs has an interest in convincing others of the guilt of the other men, especially if he is the one responsible for the children's murders.
As a parent, I come home from work May the 5th, 1993.
Yes, sir.
I noticed that one of my children was not at home. I asked my wife, "Where's Stevie?" He's gone off riding his bicycle with his friend Michael Moore. I did what any other parent would have done. I'd go outside and look down the street, seeing when he's supposed to come home. He's supposed to have been home by 4:30. Didn't see him on the sidewalk. Pam cooking supper, wife, had to be at work by 5 o'clock. We don't eat supper because Stevie's not home. We always eat supper together. And it comes getting close to 5 o'clock, we decide to go ahead and take Pam to work.
That's you and Amanda?
Me and Amanda and Pam.
And Pam, you and Amanda decided to take Pam to work?
We all three decided that it's time for her to go work.
Between 4:30 and when you got home, it was time to take Pam, other than walking out and looking in the street, did you do anything to find Stevie?
Not before then.
Okay. All right, go ahead.
We take Pam to work by 5 o'clock. We stopped over at the Moore's house
Pam worked where?
at Catfish Island Restaurant.
During this period, none of the parents were excessively worried. Each parent assumed that the boys might have lost track of time or were with another family.
And where is the Robin Hood area? Where's that in relation to that?
Robin Hood was behind the Moores and Byers home.
Okay. Okay. So you stop at the Moores, no one except the daughter's there. You drive around with your 4-year-old daughter for a while.
Right.
Then what happened?
And we go to back to our home, and we park the car, and me and Amanda walk around the neighborhood.
Do you recall about what time that is, sir?
No, I don't.
Was it before 6 or after 6?
I don't recall.
Okay.
But we're riding around the neighborhood, or
Right.
walking around at
Thank
this
you.
point, seeing if we could hear them, see them or something, and we don't. So we go back to our house, and Don Moore's pulls up in my driveway.
Do you know about what time you went back to your house?
No, I don't.
You have any sense? 7
No, I
o'clock, 6:30, 7, 8, 9?
No, I don't.
Was it light?
It was still daylight.
Okay.
But
So you went back to your house, and Miss Morthing came to your house.
she pulls up in our driveway,
Okay.
and she asked us if Michael Moore's at our house, and I said, no, it's Stevie.
As the parents started reaching out and making contact, a sense of panic began to grip them. Given that the boys were only 8 years old, the prolonged absence exceeded any reasonable expectation of lateness, intensifying the anxiety among the parents.
Let's back up. So what time, do you recall what time you left Amanda and Mr. Jacoby's house?
No, I don't.
Do you recall how, and you and Mr. Jacoby drove around in a car looking?
We did.
Your car or his car?
Probably mine.
Okay. What kind of car were you driving?
I don't remember.
Where'd you drive around?
The whole city of West Memphis.
Just in your neighborhood or just all
The
over?
whole city of West Memphis.
Okay. Did you play any Guitar Hero while you were at Mr. Jacoby's?
I don't recall. I don't remember that.
You don't remember playing Guitar Hero at Mr. Jacoby's for a while?
Not that day. I don't remember.
You used to play Guitar Hero a lot at his house, right?
No, never.
Never played Guitar Hero at his house?
I played guitars at his house,
Okay, guitars. I'm
but
sorry.
not the game.
All right, I apologize. Do you recall playing guitars at his house that night?
No.
In the initial rounds of questioning, Hobbs asserted that he had been in Jacoby's company for most of the time when Stevie went missing. However, Jacoby provided testimony indicating that their time together was relatively brief.
You don't recall or you didn't?
I don't recall.
Did you smoke any marijuana while you were at his house
No.
that night?
No.
Do any other drugs while you were at his house that night?
No.
Several witnesses claim that Hobbs and Jacoby visited the residence of Billy Wayne Stewart to purchase marijuana. Later, accompanied by another man and 2 teenage boys, the group embarked on a drive around town, smoking and consuming whiskey before venturing into the woods.
No.
You weren't mad at him for being late?
No. No. We didn't act like that.
You didn't act like that? What do you mean by that, sir?
We just didn't act like that.
Were you lenient with him? You didn't punish him much?
We was good parents.
That's not my question. Did you punish him much?
No.
Didn't you tell the police in June of '07 that you used to hit him with a belt?
If we corrected him with the belt, we would whoop him with a belt, but no, we didn't go around hitting him with belts.
Hobbs had a documented history of displaying violence towards women and children, although he is reluctant to acknowledge it unless compelled to do so.
Drive around with Mr. Jacoby, in and out of the car, different places, prior to the time that you picked up Pam.
Not that I recall.
Okay. You picked up Pam, 9 o'clock. She came out with some candy for both kids.
Correct.
And did you tell her that Stevie was still missing, or did you walk right past her to make a call?
No, she come out with 2 pieces of candy, and she said, "Where's Stevie?" And I said, "We hadn't found him yet."
And then what did she say?
"He's dead."
And what did you say?
"Don't say that."
If Hobbs were guilty, he might have attempted to hide his guilt by pretending optimism and expressing hope that the boys would be located unharmed.
Door to door, or people out in their front yards ask them, "Have you seen 3 little boys?"
On bicycles.
Uh-huh. Well, yes. Someone had told us that we'd seen them going into Robin Hood.
And you don't recall who that was?
No, I don't.
It was someone in your neighborhood?
No, in the neighborhood of Robin Hood.
Was it a man or a woman who told you that?
It seemed like it was a man.
Do you recall, and I take it you don't know that person's name?
Correct.
You know how old that person was?
No.
Teenager? An elderly person?
Older person.
Kind of old like me or old like my grandfather?
I couldn't tell you, just older, an adult.
An adult. Okay.
There are no reports from anyone else claiming to have seen the boys during that time.
And how many police officers were with you and Pam and Amanda and looking in the Robin Hoods area?
Well, first of all, Amanda wasn't there.
Well, I thought you went straight from Catfish to the
Well, I
Robin.
think she sat in the car. I don't think she got out.
Okay, but she was with you in the car but didn't get
Okay.
out. Okay. And then you and Pam and the police officer got out.
Mhm.
How many police officers
Yes.
were there?
One,
And do you recall who that was?
Regina Meeks.
Okay. And how long, you don't recall how long you spent there?
No, but it wasn't long.
5 minutes?
Maybe that or a little longer.
Okay. And then after that you went home?
I believe we did.
Okay. And what'd you do when you got home? Do you recall what time you got home?
No, sir.
Approximate?
No.
Do you have any idea, a sense of how long between the time Pam had gotten off work until the time you got home?
No, I don't.
What happened when you got home?
Well, we changed clothes and went back out.
Pam changed clothes out of her work clothes.
She did.
And you changed clothes?
Probably, I don't remember.
Why would you have changed clothes?
I said probably, I don't remember.
Okay. If you changed clothes, why would you have changed clothes?
Because I wanted to.
Why?
I don't have a why.
Hobbs becomes noticeably sharp and defensive. At a particular moment, his sister-in-law accused him of washing his clothing that night, a departure from his usual routine.
Bad feeling about this place. I'm not going back there.
David and my father-in-law, Jackie Hicks Sr.
Well, Jackie was with you now too?
He was.
Who else was with you?
Well, there was different people at different times.
How many people? When did your father-in-law hook up with you after you went to the Jacobys?
Pam called him. And
My question was, when did he hook up with you as part of the search? Because when we left the Jacobys, it was you and Mr. Jacoby and Amanda, and Pam in the car. So I'm trying to figure out when all these other people joined up with you.
Amanda was probably stayed at the Jacobys.
Exactly, and it was you and Pam and Mr. Jacoby.
And her dad and mother were en route from Blytheville to West Memphis.
Okay. And how did they know to end up at Robin Hood?
We met up with them somewhere.
Where?
I couldn't tell you.
When?
Couldn't tell you.
Is that before or after you'd been to Robin Hood the first time?
Probably after. Well, I know it was.
The first time was with the police.
Hobbs responds swiftly to questions, offering minimal consideration to his answers, often stating that he doesn't know or remember.
Time before 2 so he could get some sleep before work, or was he with you right up until the time he had to go to work?
I don't remember that.
Was there a point in time when you went home and left Pam at home?
No.
So Pam was with you all night.
Or her dad and mom. They come down and we went in separate vehicles. There was a time when me and David rode around. There was a time me and Pam rode around. There was a time we all followed each other around.
I want to specifically focus on what happened, say, between 1 in the morning and 6 in the morning. Where were you?
With family and friends and the police.
There was never, so it's your testimony, there was never a point in time when you were alone between 1 and 6 a.m. Is that your testimony, sir?
I believe that's correct.
Okay. And were you out searching this entire time, or were you at home?
Searching.
So you never were at home?
Well, there was a time we went home. I'm not sure what time, but yeah, there was a time we went home.
And then after you went home, did you go back out?
Sure.
And did Pam go with you?
Yeah.
The search lacked organization, making establishing a clear timeline for everyone's whereabouts challenging.
Where did you go searching then?
Robin Hood, riding around West Memphis at the school.
Okay. Did you do, there's been some discussion in the media over the years about you doing laundry the evening of the 5th or the morning of the 6th.
No,
Call that?
it didn't happen.
You didn't do any laundry?
No, I didn't.
So if someone were to testify that they saw you doing laundry in the morning of the 6th, the evening of the 5th or morning of the 6th, beds, bed sheets, drapes, curtains, clothes, all that stuff, they would be lying.
Most definitely.
Okay. Would you agree with me that under the circumstances that if you had done laundry, that would have been a most unusual time to do it?
Well, I'm not going to agree with you because it didn't happen.
Okay. But if it did happen,
It didn't.
assume with me that it did.
I will not.
Would you agree that it would be most unusual to do laundry at that point, given what's going on in your life at that point, sir?
Well, it didn't happen in my life, so I don't know how to answer that.
If Pam would have done laundry, would you have agreed that would have been a most unusual time to do laundry?
Several individuals have asserted that Hobbs was aware of the location of the bodies before their official discovery, though there hasn't been any evidence deemed admissible to verify these claims.
Did you? Did you find the little boys prior to the police finding them, Mr. Hobbs?
No, sir. Mike Allen of the West Memphis Police Department found the little boys.
My question is, did you find them before he did?
No, I did not.
Did you put them underwater before he did?
No.
He
didn't do it either.
Well, he didn't do it either. Didn't ever said he did it. Matter of fact, Miss Hobbs, Miss Pastar didn't say you did it either, did she? She didn't say you did that.
Objection calls for a legal conclusion.
You're not aware of Miss Hobbs, Miss Pastar ever saying you did that, are you?
You need to check with her.
No, I need to check with you. Are you aware of her saying at any point in time that you killed those little boys?
I believe she did.
When? When did she say you
in
killed
Little
those?
Rock on the internet.
And when you say Little Rock, you mean the rally?
Mm-hmm.
Have you looked at the YouTube video of that rally?
No, I haven't.
Do you know if your name is even mentioned at the rally?
It seemed like it was.
Why do you say that? Who told you that it was?
Out of the newspaper, the media,
Okay.
TVs.
And they said that and it's your testimony that the media and the newspapers.
Hobbs was only mentioned in relation to the discovery of his DNA. There was no explicit accusation against him.
Well, didn't the police and in some of the press say that that it was your DNA, but that it got there by what do they call transfer? Didn't the police
accept that?
Didn't the police say that?
Objection, that's a hearsay statement.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
You don't recall the police ever saying that it was your DNA, but it got there via innocent transfer?
I do recall the police saying that Mr. Hobbs was not a suspect in '93, and he's not one in '07.
That's not my question. My question was, do you recall the police saying that it was your DNA, but that it had gotten there through innocent transfer?
Well, I don't recall that.
And do you recall Mr. Sampson stating in the question to the media that sure it could be your DNA, but it would have gotten there through innocent transfer? You recall Mr. Sampson saying that in your presence to the media?
I don't remember.
Considering that the boys frequented Hobbs's residence, it is plausible that DNA evidence may hold little relevance to the case.
the little boys prior to the time that the police did, but that you said that they were buried underwater. What did you mean when you said that?
Well, you pick up on that through the media, because the media had put out there that the boys were buried underwater. That's the only way we knew that.
Okay. So you did tell her that the boys were buried underwater?
I'm not sure.
Well, did you or didn't you?
I don't know.
You think Pam is a good person?
I was married to Pam for 17 years.
Think she's a good person?
I wouldn't have stayed married to her if I didn't think otherwise.
Okay. Think she's an honest person?
I think she has some problems.
It's not my question. People can have problems and yet still be honest folks. Mr. Hobbs, my question is, you think she's an honest person?
No, not all the time.
Okay. Think she's a truthful person?
Not all the time.
Hobbs takes care to undermine any statements made by his ex-wife by implying that she may have mental health issues. This aligns with a typical strategy for someone with Hobbs's history of abusive behavior.
You like her?
She was my mother-in-law for 17 years.
That's a loaded question, but do you like her?
I always tried to get along with her.
All right. You think she's an honest lady?
Oh, no.
Oh, no?
No, sir.
Why do you say that?
Because I've done been through that one.
What do you mean by that?
I've heard that woman lie on me like a dog.
What has she said about lying like a dog about you about?
In court up there in Blytheville.
I'm sorry?
An ex parte. They tried to get an ex parte against my daughter, and they got up in front of that judge and told some of the biggest lies you ever heard.
That's about the allegations that you sexually abused Amanda?
All kind of things. Allegations of that and drug abuse and drug addiction.
Amanda later asserted that she had no recollection of her stepfather ever causing her harm in any manner. However, considering her age at the time, it's possible that she might not retain memories of the events.
Shoot your brother-in-law in the stomach with a gun?
No.
He was never shot?
There was a gun discharged, and no one knew where it went. No one pointed a gun at anybody to shoot somebody with.
Let's back up here. Your brother-in-law was shot, right, in the stomach?
I'm not sure where.
Your brother-in-law was shot, though, right? With
He
a
was
handgun.
hit with a bullet.
And whose gun did the bullet come from?
Mine.
And who was holding the gun when it went off?
I was.
And the gun was loaded with hollow point bullets, right?
Correct.
And you were charged with criminal charges were brought against you, right?
And soon dropped.
Were you ever convicted at all on that?
No, sir.
No? What? We'll come back to that in a little bit, Mr. Hobbs.
Hobbs expresses confidence that the line of questioning cannot be used against him, pointing out that the charges were dropped. Furthermore, he emphasizes that there is no way to prove his intent at the time definitively.
Jackie Jr., they also think you killed Stevie, don't they?
They do. I've heard that.
In fact, they've been pretty vocal in the press about that, haven't they?
I've heard that.
I'm sorry?
I have heard that.
And they've been pretty vocal about it in the press for a couple of years, haven't they?
They have.
And you've had to defend yourself in the press and the media for a couple of years about the Hicks family thinking you killed Stevie, haven't you?
The Hicks and others.
The Hicks and others, for a couple of years, you've had to defend yourself about being the murderer, or one of the murderers. Isn't that right?
I have.
And this DNA and everything that's come up in the last couple of years, that's just on top of it. It's just new proof or allegations about the same thing, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry,
Yes.
You have to answer out loud. You have to answer out loud, sir.
Yes.
Yes.
A lot of people has drugged my name into it over this.
And that's been that's been really since shortly after the convictions, right? The Paradise Lost 2 came out and raised all kinds of questions about who the right, who the murderers were.
None about me. None about me.
Well, when did you start to get in the press, sir, and having to defend your...
Accusations against Hobbs started relatively early, but the notion did not gain significant traction, especially given that 3 individuals had already been convicted of the crime.
Allegations that you were the murderer, or one of the murderers.
If I had said anything, it was within the past couple years.
Past couple years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Who's Paula Hicks? Another sister?
Pam's sister,
Younger or older?
younger.
Honest, you like, honest, blah, blah, blah. You like her? You like Paula?
I try to like them all.
Try to like them all. They like you? Does she like
No.
you? No? Because she thinks she killed Jackie St. Jr. And also Stevie, right?
I guess.
Well, I mean, that's what they've told you, right?
That's what I've heard.
And that's what they've told the press, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have to answer out loud.
I don't know if Paula has said it to the press, but I've heard it amongst the family.
And you've heard it in the community, right?
Well, not really in the community. I've just heard it on TV, newspapers.
And that's over the last several years.
No,
No?
last couple years.
Last couple years. When you say couple, when do you
2.
mean?
I think this all started in '07.
When the DNA results came out.
Exactly.
And at that point, everything just piled on top of one another, didn't it?
Yep.
For many individuals, the presence of DNA evidence on one of the boys and in the vicinity of the scene strongly suggests Hobbs's culpability.
David Jacoby, good friend of yours?
He still is.
You like him?
I always have.
Honest fellow?
He seems to be.
Truthful fellow?
Seems to be.
He have any reason to lie about?
Not on me.
Not on you?
And I don't know about anything else.
Okay. Have you talked to him about this lawsuit?
I probably have.
You promised him any money?
No.
No? You hadn't said, I'm going to give you some money when I get all this money from the Dixie Chicks?
Not one time.
Not one time.
No.
What about anybody from Pam's side of the family? You have promised anybody from Pam's side of the family a bunch of money?
No.
No?
No.
So if somebody testifies to that fact that you said that you would give them or their trusts or foundations money, they'd be lying.
I've told Pam over the years that I'd always wanted to see her do her mommy thing.
What do you mean, mommy thing?
Well, it's an organization that we put together for Pam, that she really put together.
So you did tell Pam that,
No.
so you didn't tell Pam you'd give her any money for her
No.
foundation out of any
Told her I
settlement
would
that came out?
always, I've always told her in the past, I'd like to help you get this.
The hair in question could have been a potential match for approximately 1.5% of the population. Remarkably, Hobbs was the sole match among all individuals connected to the case.
The only DNA that was found was DNA that has been publicly linked to you and or Mr. Jacoby. Isn't that right?
Objection like foundation.
Yeah.
Well, you understand from reading the press and talking to the police?
No,
And,
the police has never told me that was your hair.
but they said it's linked to you. They can't
It said
exclude
it
you,
could
can
be
they?
one of.
Right, and the percentage of folks that would be matched is
And if it was my
Objection like
hair,
foundation
I'm
of
sorry?
personal knowledge.
if it was my hair,
right.
I raised that boy.
You raised Stevie,
I did.
right? And so, possible it's your hair, but it just got there because Stevie was in your house all the time, right?
Well, he lived with
He
me.
lived with you. Matter of fact, that's what in the public, isn't it? Well, it could be his. I mean, we're not saying it's not, because it could be transfer, and Stevie lived at the house all the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you had to answer out loud,
Yes.
right? And you authorized Mr. Sampson. Said, you said, Mr. Sampson, we need to get this message out. That's what we need to tell folks, right?
Right.
I mean, you've never publicly denied that it's your hair, have you?
I've never been convinced it was my hair.
Right.
And yes, I've had said I don't believe it was my hair.
Okay. And why do you say that?
Because I don't believe it was my hair.
Well,
If it was, I don't care.
you don't care if it was your hair, because Stevie was at your house all the time.
He was my stepson.
Right. How do you explain Mr. Jacoby's DNA being found?
I don't have no explanation for that.
Objection to the characterization is his DNA.
How do you explain the DNA that's been connected with Mr. Jacoby being found at the crime scene?
I have no explanation.
Okay. Because Mr. Jacoby, at least as far as come out so far, was never at the crime scene, so his DNA could never get there, right?
I couldn't tell you.
Couldn't tell you. And you spent, I mean, we went over this a lot this morning, you spent a lot of time with Mr. Jacoby that day, right?
That afternoon and evening we did, and through the night.
Looking for the boys,
Yes, sir.
getting out of the car, walking around the woods.
We did.
Now, do you have an explanation for how the DNA that's been associated with you ended up not in Stevie's ligature but Michael Moore's ligature? I could understand perhaps innocent transfer if it was in Stevie's, if it's in the knots.
Have you ever
that tied
heard of
Stevie's.
secondary
Let me
transfer?
remember we talked about earlier, let me finish my question, then you get to answer your.
Objection argumentative.
You
Ask
open
the
the
question,
door.
don't get in his face. Your
Ignorant.
menacing
I'm not
tone
asking
will
in
not
his
assist.
face. I'm just simply trying to say, can you explain to me, sir, how secondary transfer could get from you to the knots in the shoestrings that tied little Mikey Moore's hands and feet behind him?
Objection assumes facts not in evidence because it assumes that the shoestrings on the boy were the shoestrings used to tie the boy, which has not been established.
So the shoestrings, you'll agree with me that the DNA that's been associated with you was found in the knot that tied the shoestrings of Michael Moore, correct?
Objection to the characterization of found in a knot
The ligature.
or a ligature. There's no proof
you
that
can
that's
ask-
happened. So if you want to assume hypothetically that it was
You
in a
can
knot,
ask-
then you can react to your assumption.
Answer the question, Mr. Hahn.
I'm not going to agree with you.
Well, I'm just asking you how you can explain how the DNA that's been associated with you was found in the ligature of the shoestrings that tied Michael Moore.
And I object on the basis of there's no foundation of this witness's personal knowledge as to where the hair was found.
The DNA evidence is a compelling indication of Hobbs's potential guilt. The absence of DNA evidence from the West Memphis 3 at the crime scene appears confusing in light of other case details. Hobbs, however, has not explained this anomaly. His passionate opposition to the West Memphis 3 receiving another trial raises questions about his motivations and the desire to prevent a re-examination of the case. The truth behind Hobbs's claims remains unclear, leaving open the possibility that he may have something to conceal.
Right? Let's look at document 9 and stipulation 1, which is the July 20, 2007 report from Action News. Action News, that's Janice Broach, right? That's the lady you dealt with, right? Wanted to get your story out, right?
Okay.
I mean, that's the same Janice,
It
right?
is.
And Action 5 News,
Right.
Action News 5, that's where she works, right? Right?
Right.
Did she, in fact, and this is a report of she reported, did they not, Channel 5 News on July the 20th, 2007. New DNA testing by the defense shows that none of the genetic material recovered from the murder scene links the West Memphis 3 to the scene. Instead, defense attorneys say the test found DNA from Terry Hobbs, the stepfather of one of the murdered boys. They reported that in July of 2007, didn't they?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Did you start to get some calls from neighbors or friends when this was reported by Janice?
Oh, yeah.
All right. And was this report, July the 27th report, was this a result of you reaching out to her to try to get your story out? Because you said I have to laugh at that and say there's something wrong with someone who would think that. This is part of your trying to get the story out about the DNA, right?
Probably. Looks like it.
Looks like it. in here, this Exhibit 9 to Stipulation 1, you say all those things in there? Are you accurately quoted, Mr. Hobbs?
Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
Okay. And so you did say if Michael Moore or Christopher Byers had a piece of my hair on their shoestrings, well, these little boys came to my house and played with our little boy pretty regularly, Hobbs said. Well, you said that, right?
Right.
Right. And so it's also reported here by Channel 5 News that the DNA results also revealed, according to court documents, that most of the DNA at the crime scene came from the victims, but some of it cannot be connected to the victims or the defendants. I don't know what to make of that, Hobbs said. It's their job to do what they do. You quoted that, right? You quoted correctly there?
I guess, yeah.
Yeah. And some of that DNA is also leaked to Mr. Jacoby, right?
In 2013, 2 men, accompanied by several others, provided testimonies implicating Hobbs and Jacoby at the scene. According to these accounts, the 3 boys unexpectedly encountered the group engaged in sexual activities, and this alleged event was proposed as the motive for the murders.
Did you ever talk to the police about the DNA?
No.
They never asked you about it?
Oh, I'm not sure. And I went and answered some questions with them. I don't remember what kind of questions we had. I've done that video with them. I read that thing, and that's a joke.
What video? The press conference?
No.
What video, Mr. Hobbs?
One that they got me in that room asking me all them questions.
That's part of when the West Memphis police then interviewed you again in June of '07.
Okay.
Hobbs displays a dismissive attitude towards the police inquiries and appears to resent being questioned. However, it's a known fact that these types of acts are often committed by individuals known to the victim, provoking law enforcement to focus on close family members during investigations routinely.
So I'm just saying that it was reported widely that your DNA was found, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. And it was reported widely well prior to the time that Ms. Pasdar posted her letter or appeared at the rally, right?
It was going on at the time she jumped on the bandwagon.
On Channel 5 on the 21st, they also talk about finding the knives and the knife that Stevie's grandfather had given him in your stuff.
The knife held significant value to Stevie and was consistently in his possession. Given this, it would be expected that he had it with him on the day of the incident, and it should have been discovered on or near his body.
Did you have in your possession, Mr. Hobbs?
Oh, no. I think I still have his pocket knife.
You have Stevie's pocket knife?
I think so.
And is that a pocket knife that Stevie carried with him on a regular basis?
Until I found it. Until I seen my stepson, who wasn't old enough to have a pocket knife, I felt like I took the pocket knife from him and put it in a drawer with the rest of our pocket knives.
Okay. How would you respond to witnesses who would testify that Stevie carried that knife with him up until the time that he disappeared?
I think you'll find out people will say anything, but they don't have the facts.
What facts do you have to prove that you took the knife from Stevie?
I was his dad. I was acting as a responsible parent, not letting a 6, 7, 8-year-old little boy carry a pocket knife.
Weren't you aware that his mother, said that he carried the knife with him up until the time that he disappeared?
She also said I killed the boys too. And yes, I'm very much aware of all that.
Okay. The knives were reported in in the letter that Ms. Pasdar posted on the internet, wasn't it?
Okay.
Well, that's one of the things, right? Now you're complaining about that.
Object to the characterization of him complaining about the knives. fact, the Eccles petition says that knives were not used.
Concerns about the trial have arisen due to the exclusion of evidence that the defense was not permitted to present. This evidence could have potentially cast enough doubt on the defendant's guilt in committing the crime.
I'm happy with the trials.
I understand that, but my question is it your testimony that it was a matter of public concern at the original trial, but it's not a matter of public concern today?
It doesn't matter to me what the public thinks about it.
You told us earlier that it's not a matter of public concern now because there was a trial. And my question to you, sir, is was it a matter of public concern in the early to mid-'90s when there was a trial, but it's not a matter of public concern now?
I don't know.
Objection to the extent that calls for a legal conclusion.
Asking for this witness's opinion.
I don't know.
Okay, so you don't know if it's a matter of public concern about who murdered the 3 little boys today.
There's 3 boys sitting in prison today.
Is it possible, Mr. Hobbs, that they were wrongfully convicted?
Not in my opinion.
Is it possible, while you may believe and have the opinion that they were properly tried and properly convicted, you'll acknowledge, won't you, sir, that others have an entirely different opinion?
Everybody's entitled to their own.
Opinion. And everybody's entitled to express that opinion, are they not?
To some degree.
Okay. And it is a matter of public concern. You would agree with me, sir, that it's a matter of public concern about whether or not the West Memphis 3 were wrongfully tried and convicted of murder. That can be an issue of public debate, can it not?
A low mentality public, probably.
Hobbs' judgment is severe. Concerns about whether justice was genuinely served are not indicative of a lack of intelligence, but rather a genuine inquiry into the fairness of the legal process.
So as we sit here today, you have no facts that would support your belief that Ms. Pazdar knew that what she was saying was false at the time she said it.
Same objection as earlier.
Right?
I don't know where she get her information from, but she should have talked to somebody who knew about it.
My question, I need you to answer my question because it's an important question, Mr. Hobbs, which is, do you have any facts or do you have any documents that support your allegation that Ms. Pazdar knew that the facts that she was stating on either her letter or at the rally were false at the time she made it?
Same objection.
There is no indication to suspect that Maine did not believe her statements to be true.
I'm sympathetic and appreciate that. I really am. But my question to you, sir, is representing my client, is I'm trying to figure out what damage, what emotional damages you have suffered as a result of the statements that my client made, as opposed to the national and international scrutiny that's been going on for months and months and months prior to the time that my client had anything to say.
Objection to the extent that calls for a legal conclusion.
I'm simply asking you what damages you have suffered.
Same objection.
I don't know.
Can you sit here, can you point to me one damage that is separate and apart from all of the things that we talked about starting in the summer and the spring of '07 that is caused as a result of what Ms. Pazdar said?
Objection requires, to the extent that it requires a legal conclusion.
I'm not asking for a legal conclusion, counsel.
Sure you
I'm
are.
asking
You're
for the facts.
You're asking for him to apply the facts to the law of causation.
I'm
And he doesn't
asking
know
for
what
facts.
proximate cause
I'm
is.
just asking for facts.
You're linking the facts you're asking to causation, which is a legal concept, which he's not required to address.
While Hobbs's attorney promptly objects to the line of questioning, it's important to note that Hobbs is merely being asked for his opinion.
Can you separate out the emotional injury that you have suffered as a result of the countless newspaper, media, television articles about the murder, the appeals, and quite frankly, the recent connection of your DNA to the crime scene, separate and apart from that which Ms. Pazdar's letter or statement at the rally?
No.
You state any other than talk about personal injuries. Talked about emotional injury. Any other personal injuries, Mr. Hobbs? Or is that pretty much it from the personal injury side?
I don't know.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that's it? Okay. Talks about the next one, injury to your reputation.
The speculation surrounding Hobbs has affected his social life and potentially impacted his ability to secure employment.
What was your reputation? I just want you to tell me what your reputation was prior to November the 26th, 2007, Mr. Hobbs. Taking into account your whole life experience and everybody that knew you, what was your reputation?
Pretty screwed up one, ain't it?
Is that your answer?
Nope.
Oh, okay.
That's off the record.
And then it's not off the record. And honestly, I would agree that's pretty screwed up.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you?
Seems like the more people gets a hold of it, they try to make it the worse for you.
Well,
But
you've got out.
before
I mean,
that-
you've had out. Go ahead. I'm sorry. What was
Go ahead.
What was your reputation in the community prior to November the 26th, 2007, Mr.
A man that's been through hell.
Okay. And what was your reputation after Miss Hobbs made the statement and appeared at the rally? It's the same, wasn't it?
Miss Pastor.
Miss Pastor. That was after Miss Pastor posted her letter and spoke at the rally. Reputation was the same, wasn't it?
Let's kick him while he's down.
But had your reputation changed?
Couldn't get any better.
Couldn't get any worse, could it? Or could it?
Yeah, it could get worse.
Could it get worse?
The more big mouths out there shooting off, yeah, it gets worse.
Okay. You'll agree that you'd led a, shall we say, a colorful life?
I've had a good life up until the murders of our little boy.
Hobbs makes an effort to diminish the less than commendable reputation he had before the murder of Stevie and the other boys.
And then it all went south, didn't it?
It could have been better.
Arrested for drug use and possession.
Half a joint.
Accused of molesting your teenage daughter. Divorced. Bankruptcy. Lawsuits. You shot your brother-in-law. You're nationally connected through international press in the summer of '07 with DNA, your DNA at a crime scene, the murder of your little boy and 2 other little boys.
Object, compound question.
And,
That was your reputation prior to November of '07, wasn't it?
Same objection.
And it's the same. How can it get worse?
it would get better if people quit jumping on the bandwagon.
How could it get worse? How did what Miss Pazdar say damage your reputation any more than what the conduct that you had led through the last 15 years done?
She just pulls more in people, influence in that people don't even pay attention until celebrities get on board.
So she threw light on the subject.
She didn't throw light on nothing. She shot off.
My question to you, sir, is how did your reputation change, other than the fact that Miss Pazdar shot off and brought more people to look at the West Memphis 3 website and what went on, which is what she said. Look at the website. Look at the evidence. Look at the habeas corpus, the court pleadings, and make a judgment for yourself. How is that any different than throwing light on the facts and asking people to make their own minds up? How did that damage your reputation?
'Cause people tend to believe celebrities. Even though some of them don't know what they're talking about, people will follow their stories.
This, at least, is a valid point. Many people are prone to accepting anything said by a celebrity at face value.
Way back here,
Which
wherever it is, it'd be nice if, I don't have the Dixie Chicks report, but it'd be nice if them people back there would quit doing what they're doing so I can go to work and not have to worry about people coming in my place of business and threatening the person. They don't even know who it is, and it's me. Because of everything that has happened in the past. That happens.
What happens?
Well, I just told you.
Oh, that happens. Okay. So it's happened more than the fellow from Australia?
Exactly.
How many times?
I don't keep up with them. I get tired of them.
More than 5? More than 10? Once a month? Once a year? How often does it happen, Mr.
Just
Hobbs?
like I told you, I don't keep up with them.
Well, I'm trying to get a sense for how often folks, did you say folks come into your business and hassle you?
I don't have to just say, there's people sit right in there that hear it too.
Well, I'm sorry. Say what? I didn't understand. There are people out here in the conference room?
There's people in my work that has sat there and heard the people come in and say stuff about it.
People just talk about you. You don't like it.
They don't even know it's me they're talking about. They're just in there talking about it.
Hobbs cannot evade his past. Whether at home or work, discussions about the murders resurface regularly.
All right. How often does that happen?
It used to happen quite a bit.
Okay. And they would do that not even knowing that you're Terry Hobbs, right?
Exactly. Just seeing it on the news, they would just come in and start talking about it.
And this has been going on since you got there, right?
I started there just before this started.
All right, and those types of people coming in wanting to talk about the West Memphis Three, that happened pretty much from the get-go when you started?
I started before it started on the news.
Okay. And did that same sort of discussions or community discussion happen while you were a courier?
No, because it hadn't started yet.
It hadn't started yet. It all started in the spring of '07 when the DNA results were released.
Right.
Right. Okay. You have the same position today as when you started in '07?
I do.
Same pay scale?
Roughly.
Hadn't been demoted?
No.
Hadn't been promoted?
No.
Just kind of same
There won't
status
be
quo?
no promotion there. You're just there.
Just status quo?
The news coverage and gossip have created discomfort in Hobbs's workplace, but it has not impacted his income.
Says that the acts of the defendants place plaintiff in a false light. What false light did the letter place you in?
Object to the extent that it calls for a legal conclusion.
What do you claim? What false light do you claim that the letter placed you in?
Same objection.
That's fine.
She put it out there, people believed it.
Okay.
What do you call that?
Some would call it the truth, sir.
And some call it whatever.
All right. Let's look at Exhibit A, which is the letter. Would you agree with me, sir, that from where her signature is through the top is Ms. Pazdar explaining that she thinks, she has the personal belief, I believe that 3 men are in prison for crimes they didn't commit. She tells folks to go to the website, to look at the evidence, and to make a donation to Arkansas Take Action in hopes that the judge will grant a new trial. Would you agree that that's the gist of the letter from her signature to the top?
Object to the extent that it calls for a legal conclusion.
Would you agree that that's the gist of that part of the letter?
Despite repeated inquiries, Hobbs steadfastly refuses to acknowledge that Maine is not explicitly accusing him of the murders.
There's no basis, no foundation for the
We're going
notion.
objection form. We're not coaching, Ted.
There's no
I will note
basis.
your objection to form.
There's no foundation for him having read the pleadings. You cannot get concessions from him what are in or not in the pleadings when he hasn't read them.
I'm about tired of coaching the witness.
I'm not coaching the witness.
Yes, you are. That's exactly what
You
that
haven't
is.
established whether or not he read the pleadings.
Well, then object to form and
That's what I
then
did.
stand by your objection. And if I have a question about which you can enlighten me on, I will certainly
I'm going to
ask.
state the basis for my objection.
And not unless I ask. The federal rules say not unless I ask. You object as to form or you instruct the witness not to answer, and I'm about tired and I've about had it of you coaching
I'm about had
this
it
witness.
with you trying to get concessions about him from a document that he's never read. There's no foundation for the document. It's not valid. I mean, the judge isn't going to say, oh, Mr. Hobbs says it's a public concern, therefore it must be a public concern. It's just,
You know what?
Yeah, I think that the point that Dan is making is that you object as to form, and the witness has to say, I haven't read it, so I don't know. You don't tell him that he hasn't read it, so he knows how to answer.
I'm objecting to the lack of foundation.
That's objections
And that you assume facts that aren't evidence.
I know, it's crazy. You'll agree with me, won't you, Mr. Hobbs, that the points that are following Ms. Pazdar's signature are the very points that are in the press release that I showed you earlier, and which were reported in some of the press clippings that I showed you earlier that attempt to summarize some of the defense filings.
Object is to form.
Thank you.
Mischaracterization of a press.
The lawyers engage in a dispute over another point, and Hobbs evades providing a direct answer.
Are you asking me if I think any of these statements here are wrong?
Yes.
I would start, you want to do paragraph by paragraph?
I think that makes sense.
Yeah. Damien Echols was wrongfully convicted.
Okay.
I don't believe that.
Okay. Would you agree with me that the papers that were filed in federal court in Arkansas certainly allege that?
That doesn't mean it's fact, but things like that happen.
Things like what
Object is
happened?
to form, assuming facts not in evidence.
Things like what happened? Wrongfully convicted? People are wrongfully convicted.
No, people making statements like this.
Okay.
Matter of fact, everything has happened in the courts, as you call it. Nothing has changed.
Okay. You would agree with me that the papers that were filed with the federal court in October attempt to establish that Damien Echols was wrongfully convicted?
Object is to form, lack of foundation.
You know that to be the case from all the press release. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to say that he was wrongfully convicted, give him a new trial, right?
You know what? If you were sitting on death row and it was your time to die, and you had a yellow streak running down your back, wouldn't you not come up with any and everything that you could possibly to save your own life?
If I was sitting on death row and didn't do it, I certainly would.
Hobbs opposes. The West Memphis 3 inches getting a retrial. If he is an innocent parent, he might genuinely believe in their guilt and resent efforts to overturn their conviction. Alternatively, if he is the guilty party, he may prefer to let innocent individuals endure imprisonment rather than risk redirecting the investigation towards himself.
Habeas corpus filings?
Nope.
Okay.
Not that I know of.
That's fine. I didn't mean to interrupt you, sir. We were going through Exhibit A to Exhibit 2, which is your complaint, and asking you from Ms. Pazdar's signature down what you felt was false. What was set out in there that was false. And I guess we're up to the first bullet point on the second page. And I know from your testimony that you disagree with the fact that DNA tests show that hair belonging to you was found in the ligature of one of the victims. Correct?
I've heard that. I still ain't been convinced that it was.
Okay. You have heard that that was contained in the... even though you have not read, you have heard that that was contained in the filings, correct?
Hobbs stubbornly rejects the notion that the DNA found belongs to him, despite a plausible explanation for its presence on one of the boys. The confusion arises as he expresses confidence in the guilt of the other men. However, it remains unclear why he feels compelled to distance himself from the DNA evidence.
No.
Have you ever told anybody you did?
No.
The fourth bullet point.
Is it hard to accept the truth?
No, sir. It's
You
not.
don't need to interact with him like that, sir.
All right.
Anything else you want to tell me?
Nope.
You sure?
Positive.
This is your chance.
I'm out of here.
Fourth bullet point, scientific evidence. Some of the nation's leading forensic experts stating the wounds on the victims' bodies were caused by animals at the crime scene, not by knives used by the perpetrators. That was part of the filings in the court proceeding that you're aware of that, right? From reading the press articles?
Objectives to form like foundation of personal knowledge.
That's your understanding, right? You have to answer out loud.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not a secret what's in there. We can all read it. It's right there, right?
exactly.
Under pressure, Hobbs cannot deny that he is familiar with the contents of the statement.
How many guns do you own?
None at the present.
How many did you own back in '93?
2 or 3.
Well, tell me about them. What kinds?
I don't remember.
No, do you recall the type, the millimeter?
357,
What other kind?
25, 9mm.
Okay, any other kind of guns?
No.
What happened to the guns?
Probably the Hickses stole them.
Do you have the guns now?
No.
When do you last recall seeing the guns?
During that time,
During the '93 time frame?
94.
93, 94 time frame? You aware that the police found a gun in the Robin Hood Hills area?
No, I don't care about that.
You recall if it was the same caliber of gun that you just said you had that now you don't know where it is?
No.
No? Would that surprise you that they found a
I
gun
don't
with the
mean
same?
Hobbs remains composed by the presence of a gun at the crime scene, even if it were linked to him. The fact that the boys were not shot makes it a less significant indicator of guilt.
Mean nothing to you?
Nah, don't
Why
mean
not?
nothing. Go name my gun.
And your gun. Where is your gun?
Good. Ask the Hickses. They take stuff.
I'm asking you. Don't you think it's reasonable for a gentleman who carries 3 guns and has shot at least one person to know where their firearms are, Mr. Hobbs?
No.
Did you drop the gun in the woods on the night of
One's
May
in
the
jail.
5th? Did you
And
drop
the
the
other
gun in
two.
the woods on the night of May the 5th?
No, I don't. I didn't carry a gun.
Did you have a gun with you on the night of May the 5th?
No.
Did you drop it in the woods on the morning of May the 6th?
Didn't have it with me.
Where was it?
I don't even think. Yeah, I had a gun back then. But
Where
no,
was it?
I couldn't tell you. Probably at home.
Where'd you keep your guns at home?
In a drawers.
What drawers? Where?
I couldn't tell you.
You don't remember where you kept your guns?
One of them in my truck.
Is that the 357?
That's one of them.
Where'd you keep the other? Where'd you keep the 357 other than in your back pocket?
In my truck.
In your truck. So you kept 2 guns in your truck, and where'd you keep the third one?
Probably in the house.
Which one did you keep in the house? The 9mm?
Probably. I don't remember.
Don't remember. When you were out traipsing around West Memphis on the night of May the 5th or May the 6th, were you afraid for your safety at all?
Nope.
Is that because you had a gun?
Didn't have one.
Didn't have one with you? Did you have knives with you that night?
No.
No. We need to go off the record, sir, because the court report, the videographer needs to change tapes.
We're going off record for a tape change at 3:11 p.m.
During Miss Kelly's trial, Richard Offshee, an expert on false confessions and police coercion who is a professor of sociology at UC Berkeley, testified that the short recording of Miss Kelly's interrogation was a classic example of police coercion. Critics have also pointed out that Miss Kelly's different confessions were, in many aspects, inconsistent with each other, as well as with the details of the crime scene and the victim's murders. On February 5th, 1994, Miss Kelly was convicted by a jury on 1 count of first-degree murder and 2 counts of second-degree murder. The court sentenced him to life plus 40 years in prison. Despite an appeal, the Arkansas Supreme Court affirmed his conviction. 3 weeks later, Eccles and Baldwin faced trial, with the prosecution accusing the 3 young men of committing a satanic murder. Eccles received a death sentence, and Baldwin was sentenced to life in prison. On November 4th, 2010, the Arkansas Supreme Court ordered a lower judge to assess whether newly analyzed DNA evidence might acquit the 3. The justices also instructed the lower court to investigate claims of misconduct by the jurors who sentenced Damian Eccles to death and Jesse Miskelly and Jason Baldwin to life in prison. After weeks of negotiations, on August 19, 2011, Eccles, Baldwin, and Miskelly were released from prison as part of a plea deal. In this agreement, Judge David Lasser nullified their prior convictions, including the capital murder convictions for Eccles and Baldwin, and ordered a new trial. Each man then entered an Alford plea to reduce charges of first and second-degree murder while asserting their innocence verbally. Judge Lasser sentenced them to time served, totaling 18 years and 78 days. Additionally, each received a suspended imposition of sentence for 10 years, indicating that if they were to reoffend, they could be sent back to prison for 21 years. In 2010, District Judge Brian S. Miller directed Terry Hobbs to pay $17,590 to Dixie Chicks singer Natalie Maines for legal costs related to a defamation lawsuit he filed against the band. Miller dismissed the suit filed by Hobbs over Mains's remarks and writings, which insinuated his involvement in the killing of his stepson. The judge argued that Hobbs had actively engaged in public discussions regarding the justness of the convictions, making him a part of the broader discourse. Remember, it's your curiosity that fuels this channel. Keep exploring, stay inspired, and join us for more amazing content next time.